Hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. I am now making it my mission to not only try to ensure that we get justice for all of the crimes perpetrated against President Trump and conservatives by this conspiracy, masterminded by Barack Obama and then implemented by Comey and Brennan and Clinton and the others. But I want accountability for those inside the first Trump administration that knew about this information, that allowed it to stay hidden, and in fact covered it up. And in my belief, in my opinion, they covered it up because they wanted President Trump to lose. They were part of the deep state. Yes, I'm talking about people like Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, like John Kelly, President Trump's first chief of staff, like Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State who was the director of the CIA before. All of these people had access to the information we're getting now, and they hid it. So in the end, what I want to do is I want to hold those people accountable. I don't want us to forget about those who were supposed to be Republicans that protected the deep state and the intelligence apparatus over taking America back and making America great again. So we're going to get into that in the program. We're going to talk a little bit about the Fire Aid concert out in California, which now, what a debacle. It gets worse and worse and worse. We're not seeing any money going direct to individuals. At least we can't find any. It may have, and I'm urging people, reach out to me. If you got some money from this, reach out to me and let me know. But it gets worse and worse and worse as the more news comes out about Fire Aid and where the money went. So we're going to talk about those things on the podcast today. It is great having you aboard. Before we do that, though, folks, I want to tell you about my friends over at patriot-protect.com/grant. So as you can imagine with me, I had personal information all over the web. I mean, all over. Patriot-protect.com/grant. When I signed up for their service, they went and scrubbed the internet of my personal information. There were old addresses. There was my current address. There were phone numbers, including my current cell phone number that was out there online, and they have removed it from so many sites. You could go to the data broker sites like whitepages.com and all these other ones that you see out there. They had my information. Some of you had to pay for it, but they had it. Patriot-protect.com/grant. Told them to remove it, and they did. So now you can't get my information on those data broker sites. Hundreds of data broker sites. Patriot Protect went and got my information removed. So if you're getting those annoying text messages, you're getting those spam phone calls, all of this is coming from what I believe is the dark web data brokers that's selling your personal information, and it has been compromised. Not to mention passwords and personal information through these data hacks. Patriot Protect will root it all out. So get with patriot-protect.com/grant. Do it today and get peace of mind. That's what I got. I'll tell you what, it truly was pretty amazing to go back and look and see everything they scrubbed from the internet. I wanted my privacy. Patriot Protect gave it to me. Again, 15% off if you use the promo code GRANT. Patriot-protect.com/grant. What I would like to get ready to do is blow the lid off this. But you said don't blow the lid.
I did.
You said
Where'd you get that from? What?
So I'll tell you where I got this from. A friend of mine posted a picture of him with Mike Pompeo, and he was so proud, and he sent it to me. Look at this picture.
Look at me and Pompeo.
I said, that jerk, why would you want a picture with him?
Uh-oh.
And what? What do you? He's a great Secretary of State. Maybe he was a decent Secretary of State. He wasn't a very good director of CIA under President Trump. Think about this, Jen. Mike Pompeo led the CIA under President Trump. All the information we're getting now,
It was there.
Mike Pompeo had. Mike Pompeo had direct access to John Brennan's handwritten notes talking about the Oval Office meeting with Barack Obama, where Barack Obama was the mastermind to go after President Trump. How is nobody questioning Mike Pompeo on this?
Because they haven't
What
remembered.
were you doing
Right.
there?
I think it's a great question. Were you not reading the notes? Were you not curious? Because I think that's one of the first things I'd probably do.
Let me explain something behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know. Mike Pompeo was actively arguing not to declassify the Russian collusion case file. He didn't want it. So he didn't want any of these documents released. He wanted to protect the CIA and the intelligence community rather than expose the wrongdoing against President Trump.
I think he even made a comment about that, didn't he? Around that time, saying in an effort to protect the intelligence community. I think that's what he said, didn't he?
He might have. I mean, look, this guy came up through the military ranks. He always, to me, seemed much more aligned with establishment than he did America First. Now he wants to run for president. There's a lot of talk he wants to run for president in 2028.
They thought he was going to run last time around.
Remember,
and then
Trump got back
weight?
in, and he realized you're not going to. And he was virtually quiet about President Trump until the writing on the wall just a few weeks before the election was that Trump was going to win again.
Well, and he also, I think he was being looked at by the Trump administration. I think he thought he'd be looked at again. And so maybe he was extra quiet then because he was hoping to get back into the administration.
Maybe.
That helps with the future presidential bid.
There's more beyond him. Okay?
Okay.
Now let's think about Mike Pompeo becomes Secretary of State. Who does he appoint to take his place, or at least give the nod to take the place? The woman that we've talked about on this show, Jen, Gina Haspel.
Yep.
Gina Haspel, just to review for everybody, was the CIA station chief in England at the time of the Steele dossier. When the Steele dossier came out, Gina Haspel was right there. She's now back at Washington headquarters. She argues not to declassify the Obama Russian collusion case. I mean, literally goes to stonewall declassification efforts. Okay? You've got her running the CIA. Now, much of this, Mr. President, you know I love you, but this was a big mistake. I think you'd even acknowledge this was a mistake. These people ensured that President Trump lost in 2020.
And do you think, I mean, if we look at it from a selfish political standpoint, if Pompeo did have ambitions, if Gina Haspel is his girl, basically, to try to help him, she knows she'd probably go into a Pompeo administration. Do you think they thought, hey, if this landmine actually explodes on Trump, they're going to be looking for someone in 4 years, maybe I'm the guy?
Maybe.
Right?
Because I'm telling you, these deep staters think that far ahead.
All about power, too. It's all about power.
Let me give you one more. I'm going to give you two more, okay, that are very important. Remember the name Rod Rosenstein?
Of course.
He was Deputy Attorney General. Deputy Attorney General.
And always a dud. I'm sorry, that guy was always a dud.
A dud and an Obama lackey, this guy. He appointed Mueller as the special counsel. That was nuts, the Mueller investigation. Signed off on the FISA warrants. Those were all those unconstitutional warrants against Trump allies. He's the guy that signed off on them, and he's still the Deputy Attorney General while Trump is in office.
Right.
Okay? And then we'll go to the head of the Justice Department, Jeff Sessions. Trump appoints Jeff Sessions. What a total disappointment.
And everybody thought he was going to be great. Me included.
He recuses himself from the Russia investigation.
And I don't even know if he was deep state at that point, but he was playing by the rules, and it was
well,
not a
do you know
good
what he
move.
did by recusing himself? He gave the deep state free reign.
Yeah, he gave him the keys.
He gave him the keys. Jen, so you've got these people, Pompeo, Haspel, Rod Rosenstein, Jeff Sessions. Now, I could go to Christopher Wray, was the FBI director under President Trump.
I know.
You
all
realize
the way
that?
Through. Yeah.
Okay.
And then all the way through Biden.
You had John Kelly, President Trump's chief of staff, who was approving all of these people, again, fighting not to declassify the Russian collusion investigation. These people were actively working against President Trump. I don't know if he had one person he could trust. And don't forget H.R. McMaster. You asked Seb Gorka about H.R. McMaster. H.R. McMaster was the national security advisor. He purged America First employees from the National Security Council.
And John Kelly was the gatekeeper, by the way, to go back to that, to President Trump, to get into him. And what did all the America First people say? They could never get to President Trump directly with John Kelly there. He kept everybody out.
So this was set up by Obama, if you can imagine, continued by Trump insiders, and ultimately exposed by America First Trump allies when he wins the second term.
You think the establishment of the Republican Party liked Trump at all? No, they had to hitch themselves to his wagon because they saw that he was going to win.
And that's what I'm trying to make clear here. There are Republicans still to this day that hate President Trump. They hate everything he's about because he's upending the system.
Don't like the
guess
style.
What? Trump's winning. I love Patriot Mobile. You know why? Because they're conservatives. Every thing they do is about pushing the conservative agenda, pushing the values America was built on, and making sure we take America back right there with President Trump. A portion of the money that they make on your cell phone service will go towards that, whether it's Folds of Honor and veterans causes, whether it's free speech, whether it's right to life issues. Patriot Mobile is right there on the front lines. But beyond that, folks, I'm going to tell you, the company is just better than the other big three cell phone companies. They're 100% U.S. customer based in America, customer service based in America. It takes just minutes to switch. They'll make you a deal to switch carriers, which is great. Their performance guarantee is like none other you've ever seen before. That I promise you. And even better than that, you can choose what network you want to be on. So when you choose what network you want to be on, you're always going to have great service. I actually have 2 lines on one phone. It's called the Patriot One plan. One phone, 2 lines. And here's the deal. I got a T-Mobile and I got an AT&T line, 2 different numbers on this phone. So when I go to a city, if one service isn't great, I got bars with the other. I love it. Only Patriot Mobile can do that for you. So if you haven't made the switch, I'm going to ask you why. Because you're not going to sacrifice service. In fact, you're going to gain it with customer service and the like. You know that your money is going to be spent in a direction that's helping the country, not hurting it like with the other companies. So make the switch today. Go to patriotmobile.com/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT for a free month service. patriotmobile.com/Grant. 972-PATRIOT is the number. 972-PATRIOT. Again, patriotmobile.com/Grant. Use that promo code GRANT and tell them I sent you. When it comes to this fire aid money and the big concert, and you got all the people coming in and get people in California and the Palisades eating fires, all the help that they need. Did the artists know, the musicians know that it was going to go to the Annenberg Foundation, was going to dole it out to all these nonprofits?
Don't know.
And then the nonprofits were going to do with it what they, or did they think it was going to go directly to victims in cash aid to the victims? Because let's face it, that's what you need. You need cash aid. It's like people ask you, what do you want for your birthday? Well, what you really need for your birthday is cash.
Right. Or especially when you've lost everything, you need clothes, you need a place to stay. I mean, especially if your insurance money hasn't come in.
But even clothes, you think I want, first off, if you have a house in the Palisades, do you think you want clothes from the Annenberg Foundation who's going to give you an Old Navy sweatshirt?
I'm talking about money. You know, you are so
But
snotty.
I understand that. But that's like you got to understand what people need. They need to go buy new clothes, okay? I don't know. I know it sounds really rude or mean or whatever, but I'm not wearing Salvation Army clothes. I'm not. And so, I got to go buy clothes. So I need money, man. That's what I need. I need money.
Okay. 855
You're mad at me for saying that.
8255.
Hold on. Dead end the phone, man. Am I right or wrong? Like, literally, when you're speaking just the truth rather than politically correct and all this stuff, am I right or wrong?
Are you right about wearing the Salvation Army shirt, or just in general on the take?
Just in general on the take.
I think it depends on who you are. I mean, I'm sitting here wearing
Exactly. I'm saying if you're coming out of the Palisades, for crying out loud, you don't want the Salvation Army sweatshirt.
But you do realize that this is to get you through, basically. Like, you need a suitcase filled with clothes in a hotel room after your house is burned down, and then you rebuild from there. That's when you can head to Gucci, Grant, and get some new loafers.
I'm not talking about heading to Gucci, but,
So you could go get your new loafers.
A Peter Millar golf shirt.
Oh, boy. All right.
Since he brought it up, you do raise a good point on that, but I think the Eaton fire, I live not too far away from that neighborhood, and that is going to be not quite the Palisades.
Old Navy,
I think in
baby.
the full range of things, you probably do have some people who are like, yeah, I'm down with the Salvation Army shirt.
Yeah.
And well, here's the thing. I'm going to tell you, if you went and asked those people, would you like us to give you a box full of Salvation Army clothes, or would you like $500 in cash for you and your family to go spend it where you want to spend it? I guarantee you they're taking the $500.
Okay. And here's the point. I think you're arguing over semantics, because literally when I'm saying they want money for like clothes and a hotel room, I'm talking about money. I wasn't suggesting they're getting donation items, because there's a lot of that too, which is available. But they want money.
I think we agree. The point is, none of this money went as direct cash assistance.
And you asked if the
people.
celebrities know. I don't know if the celebrities know. I'm guessing they do now, but I haven't heard anybody come out publicly yet and question it. And I think they should.
I was under the impression they were under the impression that it was going to go directly to the victims.
I'm sure they were. That's what we all thought. That's how they were selling it during the concert. That's for sure. So now we're hearing that Kevin Kiley, who is a congressman from Northern California, wants Pam Bondi, the attorney general, to investigate. Over the weekend, President Trump sent out a truth about this, saying that there needs to be an investigation into the scam that was fire aid. Listen in to Kevin Kiley.
In the aftermath of these fires, which destroyed 18,000 homes and killed, tragically, 30 people, there was a fire aid concert in which a number of high-profile musicians generously agreed to perform, and people responded in an amazing way. Tens of thousands of people donated, raising $100 million for what they were told was direct relief for the victims. But now we've learned that this money didn't go to the victims at all. Instead, it went to nonprofits, some of which have nothing to do with fire relief, where they promote things like voting and civic engagement and multi-generational power building. Some of them aren't even located in LA. So I've asked the Attorney General to open an investigation in order to restore the intent of the donors, in order to make the victims whole and to bring accountability. I yield back.
So he said that a few times now. Once in interviews on the floor of the House, he wants this done. He wants this investigated. And you know what? He should. I think there needs to be an investigation, because even these NGOs that receive the money that are reputable, did they really deliver more than just toothbrushes to people?
And this is the thing. When I went through the websites of all of the nonprofits that had gotten money, now they don't spell out how much money each organization got. We've talked about the California Native Vote Organization that has, according to the U.S. Census, in Eaton and Palisades, there's only 16 Native Americans that live there. So
what are
I'm not
they
sure
doing?
that's the best organization.
Or Gavin Newsom's voter integrity project that then was wiped off the website when he got called out for taking money from this.
Why are you giving to these organizations? But anyway, as I go through most of them, almost everyone was, we are getting clothes and toiletries. Clothes and toiletries.
And how many toothbrushes do you need?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Honestly, toothbrushes aren't expensive.
Right.
You can go down and get some
least of our
toothpaste at the 7-Eleven. They're going to have a travel pack.
Get me a night or two in a hotel room. I'm going to be loving you. Get me that. Yes, Dan. Hi.
Just doing a little research here. I found one of the kind of semi-official releases talking about fire aid, and they said fire aid contributions will be distributed under the advisement of the Annenberg Foundation for short-term relief efforts and long-term initiatives to prevent future fire disasters. So that was kind of how it was being branded by the organizers in the days leading up to it.
That gives them the pass to give it to all their environmental friendly groups.
That literally, and that is what happened. This turned into a fundraiser for liberal, nonsensical thought.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
It really was.
That's why when we asked Friday, and I'll ask again, if any of you received anything from any of the fire aid charities, please call us and let us know. We want to be wrong about this. 855-785-8255. Still looking. Not one person has called in with that ask. If you know anybody who's gotten some relief from these fire aid charities, let us know. 855-785-8255. All right, Spencer Pratt. You know him. He is the star of the
of the Hills.
Very good. We taught you that last week, married to Heidi Montag. They lost their house, and he has been all over the tail of Gavin Newsom.
So this is Newsom's press secretary responding to my video that there was no pre-deployed assets in the Pacific Palisades that Newsom talks about in his press conference as the Palisades is burning to the ground. And he writes, factually incorrect. Hey, Brandon, newsflash, I'm from the Palisades. My house burned down. My parents' house burned down. All my friends' house burned down. Do you think I wouldn't know if there was pre-deployed assets in the Palisades leading up to the freaking fire that burned our whole town down? How dare you, Brandon, the same guy that called me a C-list reality star spreading misinformation and then asking about a bill that was affecting the rebuild of my town. Then you blamed me and tried to shame me and say, hope your neighbors are happy that you stopped this bill. I also didn't stop it. It's paused. You guys are just waiting till no one's paying attention. And then you're going to push it through or try. There was no assets pre-deployed to Pacific Palisades from Newsom's little statement and this little link that you wrote factually incorrect. And guess what? The fire started on New Year's Eve in Topanga State Park. Guess what? It rekindled, also known as a reignition in the state park. So maybe instead of sending it to all these places, Newsom should have just sent the pre-deployed assets to Topanga State Park and made sure the fire that started 6 days before the Palisades fire was actually out, or left some of all these imaginary things that he's acting like we're in the Palisades when he's doing a news conference.
I got it. So it probably goes on forever, doesn't it?
No, it was 3 more seconds.
Okay. Oh, 3 more seconds. All right. Well, sorry. So he said something interesting. Did Newsom tell him he lost his house in the Palisades?
Did what?
Did Newsom say he lost his house?
No.
My parents' house? Who was he talking about?
Spencer was talking about his parents.
Spencer was talking about, and that he would know whether people
He would know, yes.
I understand.
That not, because Governor Newsom's out there saying it's misinformation from a C-list reality star, and he says, wait a second, I didn't see any pre-deployed assets. There was nothing. I was here, and you were not. So
I think what Pratt needs to do is he needs to calm down just a little bit, slow it down a tad.
I'll let you tell him.
All right, folks, I talk to you all the time about energizedhealth.com. This is a mind, body, soul program that I'll get you straight to it. In 2 weeks on this program, I lost 15 pounds. Testosterone goes up. Blood pressure goes down. I'm losing body fat in all of the right places, including that disgusting visceral fat that surrounds your organs. The Energized Health program works. Joint pain, it works. Go find the testimonials on the website, energizedhealth.com. Find a person that looks like you. There's literally hundreds of these testimonials, and listen to it. But there's another benefit that I talked to my buddy John Jubilee, who is the founder of Energized Health. We talked about this on the Real America's Voice show. John, I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but sexual health was another huge benefit to all of this.
Well, absolutely. And hey, we're all grown-ups here. And you know what? God made sex, and God made sex to be awesome. He made it to be awesome. He gave it to us as a great gift of the highest level of intimacy that we can share, with that love of our life. And I'll just give you guys a little bit of science on this. And so this was one of the interesting phenomenon of intracellular hydration. In the early days, we never thought about it until we had clients that would come back to us secretly and say, hey, man, I just want to tell you something. Like, I had not even been sexually active for years until I did your protocol. And then all of a sudden, everything turned back on. Like you turned back the clock, like 25 years. And I'm talking men and women, by the way, men and women that got back their sexual intimacy with their partner, or they way up leveled it and said they're having the greatest sexual and the greatest intimacy, the physicality and the emotional connection. And there is actually a scientific reason for that, Grant, which I could share about that in a moment. But let me just talk about the physicality of why that is. So the smallest veins in the human body, the two smallest veins in a male body, and even the female and male, is to the eye and to the sexual organs. Those are the two smallest set of veins in the human body. So what happens is we start getting dehydrated throughout life. Then we got to get the glasses out, and stuff stops working, in the sexual organ area. And so women can have vaginal dryness, men can have erectile dysfunction. That is a scientific result of cellular dehydration. So I just want to encourage you guys that, look, this is what we call a positive side effect, right? This is a positive side effect. So there's 1,000 health benefits to cellular hydration. Your brain function, doubles. If you've lost brain function, you can get it all back. If you have brain fog, it can go away. It creates new neurotransmitters through the cellular hydration, activating the mitochondria. But your brain will get back where you're sharp. Your vision it actually can improve. We've had people that they might not have got rid of their glasses, but they had to change their prescription because their vision got better. And their sex life got, so men who had full-blown erectile dysfunction, completely reversed. Women that had vaginal dryness and had no sex drive, they got back their sex drive like they had in their 20s and 30s, and no more vaginal dryness. So it really is a beautiful thing that we get to help people not only get off their high blood pressure or insulin for diabetes, or get rid of their joint pain or migraine headaches or spinal stenosis, diverticulitis, but we're giving them back one of the greatest gifts God gave them, which was the gift of sexual intimacy.
I always thought when I started with you that when you make the argument that you're going to shed body fat, and when you look in the mirror, this is the best sales pitch you go, because everybody wants to lose body fat. But when you bring up sexual health, and you can improve that this way, and then you add in brain function, and then you start telling me about joint pain starts to go away, which my joint pain goes away. Boy, that's going to increase my activity in the bedroom too. But all of this goes hand in hand, and it's amazing because, John, I want to ask you before I let you go, this isn't just about pounding water. It's and that's the furthest thing from what this is, correct? There's more to it than that.
Well, it's 1,000 miles away from that. In fact, Grant, we've had people that were drinking 1 or 2 gallons of water a day when they came to us and said, how am I dehydrated? I'm drinking 1 or 2 gallons. Even one client was drinking 3 gallons a day, and they all measured completely dehydrated because the water doesn't get in the cell. So there's a scientific protocol, there's a scientific process, and that's what we have is a process patent. We know the process of how to open up that cell like a porous sponge. So the hydration gets in, pushes out all the inflammation and the toxins. Yeah, so it's a very scientific, systematic. However, like you said, we made it simple. We made it easy that a second grader could follow this simple scientific protocol that we've created for people to get optimal health at the cellular level.
All right. Well, I want to tell people, again, how to get to you and the program, John, and it really has done such transformational things for me. Go to energizedhealth.com. That's energizedhealth.com. Intracellular hydration. It will change your life. The reason why I can guarantee you that is because, John, what's the success rate? 99.1%?
99.1% success for 28 years. And guys, go do your homework. Go on Better Business Bureau, Trustpilot, Google, Facebook reviews. Look at the tens of thousands of people that say it sounded too good to be true, but it completely changed my life, completely changed my health.
And money back guarantee.
100%.
That's the best. John Jubilee, thank you for coming on. EnergizedHealth.com, folks. EnergizedHealth.com. All right, Brandon. So clearly we've got this Mamdani character in New York. You've got another character. He's a Somalian under similar vein in Minneapolis. Both pushing the same kind of craziness. Empty the prisons, do away with the police. Mamdani wants to make grocery stores owned by the city. A guy in Minneapolis has similar ideas. Is Minneapolis the next stop on the hit parade? And how do you see this spreading across the country as far as what we're seeing from these radical mayoral candidates?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, that's what appears to be happening there in Minneapolis. It's already, the train has left the station, so that it's already started. But isn't it interesting how so many of these people who are trying to take leadership roles and usher in this socialist agenda are transplants? These are not American-born and raised people. Most of them, they've come to our country from other countries and think that they want to radically change our country and our system. And so I think that's an interesting thing to be looking at. But to answer your question more specifically, if we continue to normalize this and if we continue to allow this door to open and go down this road, of course, I think that we're going to start seeing this normalized in California and Oregon and Washington and the states in the Northeast and Hawaii, and then in blue cities, even in red states across the country. So that's why I'm saying right now, and at the rally I did yesterday and all the events we're going to be doing, this isn't, to me, left versus right. I put out a call to action weeks ago for this rally saying, if you're a moderate Democrat, if you're an independent, a libertarian, let's come together. And we're going to be doing another rally soon in New York City. And I've already talked to people who identify as Democrats. They don't wish to leave their party. They want to stay Democrats, but they reject Mamdani and his agenda just as much as I do. And I'm going to work hand in hand with these people to build a coalition to fight against this.
I think it's so interesting because, Brandon, I've known you. I've been lucky enough. We were introduced from my old partner, Don Dix, and I've watched you and I've been able to see your progression. And the walkaway campaign was really founded by you when you said, you know what, enough's enough with the Democrat Party. I'm becoming a Republican. We had a lot of people who joined you in that movement. But now it almost seems like the progression of walkaway is walking away from the insane. You don't even have to necessarily walk away from your party, but demand better candidates, demand better principles than what's being offered to us right now, at least in some of these blue cities like New York.
I would agree with all of that. But I'd say, it's just like as the Overton windows continue to shift more and more to progressive, socialist, communist left, I think it's a natural evolution that was kind of inevitable that this is where we would end up. Frankly, I don't really understand why anyone who would consider themselves a moderate is staying with the Democrats. But I think we're at a point now where I'm not even going to argue that point. I'm going to say, look, if you want to still identify as a Democrat and think that the party can be saved, great.
Good luck.
You do. Yeah, good luck. You do you, exactly. But for the time being, why don't we at least join forces on where we can find common ground? And I think that a lot of us can find common ground that it's a step too far to embrace these policies and principles and ideology of socialism.
Well, it's amazing that this continues to be a theme even after devastating losses on behalf of Democrats, that they're doubling down on all of this at a time when clearly America seems to be embracing capitalism and freedom more than any other time. So Brandon Struck, I appreciate you coming on as always and fighting the good fight, because there are a lot of people like you out there, but we always need more, but nobody does it quite like you, my man. And so thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks. And, if anybody's interested in keeping up with what we're doing, just go to walkawaycampaign.com. I'm asking everyone, sign up for our email list, sign up for our texting list, because we're going to keep doing more events, more activism. We always need more volunteers. And if people can help support the cause, make a donation. And you can do that at walkawaycampaign.com.
Yeah, definitely donate. This is a great organization. And by the way, Los Angeles, Brandon comes here quite a bit. So you want to be on that list. So maybe you can volunteer. Maybe you can help knock doors and do all of that. Get involved at walkawaycampaign.com. And Brandon, you're welcome back anytime. We always love catching up with you. So glad it was a successful day yesterday.
It was awesome. Thank you so much. Great
Thanks a lot. Walkawaycampaign.com. Brandon Struck, thanks so much for being with us.
It's hard to believe, but socialism is the end goal of the Democrat Party. Even after all the losses, you got to wonder, how are they still doubling down on this from Mamdani and this clown in Minneapolis? And then you have members of Congress that continue to push this nonsense. They even say, that old saying, they say the quiet part out loud. This is Democratic Congresswoman Yvette Clarke talking about the illegal immigration, the importing of just poverty and chaos, and they just wanted numbers. And they wanted numbers for a certain reason. Remember, when the census goes and counts, the census counts everyone, not just American citizens. And then the congressional districts are built off of how many people are in the district, not how many American citizens are in the district. That's a wrong way to count for the census. So the Democrats knew that they overloaded a congressional district with illegals. Well, you could get more congressional districts in a state with more illegals in the state. And of course, you get more illegals, you're going to get more Democrat districts. So this, folks, is Yvette Clarke saying, as we say, the quiet part out loud.
I'm from Brooklyn, New York. We have a diaspora that can absorb a significant number of these migrants. And when I hear colleagues talk about, the doors of the inn being closed, no room in the inn, I'm saying, I need more people in my district, but just for redistricting purposes. And those members could clearly fit here.
I need more of them in my district for redistricting purposes. So when they count the numbers, it's going to be a fake, phony fraud of a count, meaning all illegals in your district. So give Yvette Clarke what she wants there. My Lord. They're so dumb they say it out loud. They're so dumb they tell you exactly what the end game is. I mean, even Mamdani, he in New York, he's telling you he wants to socialize grocery stores, make them government owned. He tells you he wants to empty the prisons. And yet, New Yorkers are so dumb, this guy's like having a field day in the polls. So it's frightening what's going on that front. Then you've got the mainstream media. And the mainstream media that does a job of covering for the socialists, covering for Barack Obama. Remember when we had this whole Obama collusion nonsense? Well, the Obama collusion stuff isn't nonsense. The Trump collusion stuff was nonsense. And the conspiracy to sink President Trump certainly isn't nonsense. That's treasonous behavior. The media was culpable in it. And I will tell you, I saw my buddy Brian Glenn on with my other buddy, Steve Gruber. And Brian Glenn spelled out his thoughts about the media through all of this. It was on Real America's Voice. I wanted to play it for you because he summed it up so perfectly when it comes to this and the media. Take a listen.
I feel the same exact way. I stood in that briefing room hearing the report from Tulsi Gabbard, seeing the receipts, as they like to say, and showing and proving that this narrative was created after the election to smear the results of the 2016 election. And what I was telling you in the break is I can't help but think of all the millions of MAGA supporters after the 2016 election that were afraid to wear a MAGA hat. They were afraid to wear a Donald Trump hat because they were afraid to get brutally assaulted in the streets by this narrative that for whatever reason they stole the election or Russia or Putin influenced the election. This is what we had to deal with for 4 years. And let me tell you, I was angry in that room, and I'm still angry at the fact that we had American media, legacy media, that was in that room at that very moment, still questioning what Tulsi Gabbard was telling them with the proof and with the receipts and the nice digital display on the screens behind her. This is just the beginning. Now, I would say before this press conference, Steve, this wasn't on the top of my list of what I wanted to get done right now, because I'm more concerned about the American people at home paying their mortgage, paying their car insurance, paying their health insurance, making sure the schools are safe, making sure our cities and streets are safe. That's what's most concerning to me. But after thinking about what the American people went through after the 2016 election, I want prosecution on President Obama and others that were colluded in this big lie. And I'll say this, I want the media that was sitting in that room today, I want their questioning whether or not they are allowed to come back in this briefing room because they simply misled the American people for 4 years, Steve.
They did. He put it perfectly. And, can you imagine how frustrating it must be to be Brian Glenn in the White House briefing room? He's the only one with any common sense in there. Actually, I got a couple other friends from One American News and Turning Point USA that do a decent job. But by and large, they're the only ones with common sense in there. It's got to be so frustrating to hear them question the president, question Caroline Leavitt on every single thing when the evidence is right in front of your noses. So, yeah, I mean, you can't start kicking people out of the White House briefing room unless they're just absolutely breaking rules and decorum. I believe in open dialogue. I believe in even an outlet that in many respects lies. There's still free speech, and they've got to be there. But when you get to the point where you're colluding with the co-conspirators, where you become one of the co-conspirators, which is what many in that mainstream, then I don't know, maybe you do need to be banned from the briefing room. Maybe you do need to be brought in as a co-conspirator. I don't know if we could ever get that because there is freedom of the press, but it sure feels like they need to be held accountable as well. So great job to Brian Glenn out there. Listen to me, folks. I want you to get one of these emergency medical kits. This is so important. There's 8 prescription medications in here. Ivermectin is in here. Amoxicillin, a Z-Pack. I've got the field kit where there's even more prescription medications in this field kit from the Wellness Company, including an EpiPen in here. You need to start having prescription medications on hand. God forbid something happens. Just a buddy of mine the other day at the club felt like he needed a prescription medication, but it was a Sunday. He couldn't get to the doctor. I was like, dude, you need one of my prescription medications. He ordered one. So good for him. And then another one of the gentlemen there said, hey, I want the web address too. So I'm going to give it to all of you. twc.health/grant. Promo code GRANT for 10% off and get yourself one of these kits to be prepared. If you don't have one, you're not prepared. And then, of course, there is the Parasite Cleanse, folks. Do you want these crawling around in your body? That's a worm. It's a parasite on salmon in the grocery store, literally caught in the grocery store. Supposedly 20 to 60 million Americans have parasites. You may be one of them. I thought I was. I'm on the Parasite Cleanse from the Wellness Company, and I'm so grateful I am. They get in your brain, in your heart, in your spine. But now this Parasite Cleanse, sold out 3 times, is back available. Mebendazole and ivermectin will get rid of these things for you, and you will get your life back. You'll get a cleaner head. A lot of times they say brain fog, parasites responsible. Digestive problems, parasites responsible, and all kinds of other things. So get with the Wellness Company, twc.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT for 10% off, and then a whole slew of supplements on there that will really help you take back control of your life. All right, with that, it's going to do it for us here on Stinchfield. You can get all the podcasts at GrantStinchfield.com, but even better, if you're watching live wherever and whatever platform, please subscribe, like, share, all of those things, and tell your friends. Word of mouth is a great way for us to grow. I appreciate all of you. God bless you. Stinchfield's Army rolls because of you. We will see you back here soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.